Oh, this is one of my favorite slides. Now I hope to get into kind of the fun stuff. This is going to sound anti-sustainable, may sound. It's not intended to be, or anti-green. Just bear with me on this one. I first used this slide at the Sustainable Oregon School program we did last April, and this slide came about because I had created it on a Mac, emailed the entire program to someone who had a PC, and then made it available for the program. And so when I got there, I went through there, and that's supposed to say, right there, that's supposed to be a does not equal sign, and it's not. And that was my intention. I intended to have a does not equal sign up there, but I didn't know enough, and nobody trained me, and I wasn't there to have a commissioned software person or PC or technology person say, Dave, let me tell you that if you use that font and a do not equal sign on a Mac and send it over the internet and have somebody open it in a PC, you're not going to get what you thought you wanted. And what you wanted was a does not equal sign. You got this one instead. So where I'm going for here, do not assume that just because your building has a certain designation as a energy smart green school, LEED silver, that it's automatically going to perform as it's designed. You got to follow through the design from all the way through, and I'll show you many fun pictures, I hope, of that. So here, launching into this, I'm going to go through this really quick. Make sure that someone in your organization understands how building systems work and the value of the individual systems working in concert with others. Because what you get into, and this is a little blurb about value engineering, but it's not uncommon for us in the room here to get all sorts of input. What kind of system do you want? Well, I told, in one case in a new school, I said, I want a dark building. I want it completely dark when it's not occupied. And that was the last of the input I got to have on this facility. 3/4 of the way into the construction, I was invited to a construction meeting for some reason, and they had the plans out, and we were on the electrical page, and I noticed all these fluorescent lights with X's on them, and that means those are running 24/7. And I said, what are these for? I thought we wanted a dark building. Well, it is dark except for those. So one of the things you just have to nail and hammer, I guess, over and over again is what you want, because a lot of times they hear what you want, but they give it to you through their grid, what that means to them. Other things in value engineering is we're typically left out of the loop when it comes to saving the money in schools. Even wherever you are in a facilities level, you can give all the input you want, but 3/4 of the way through construction, when the contractor says, hey, we're a little over budget here, they don't come to us and say, where can we cut? They make recommendations to the board. They make recommendations to the administration, and without lots of background, they'll say, well, you don't need all those control points on your DDC system. You really don't need all those. And I would say, yeah, you do. If you want to save the energy, because you take away those control points, we're not going to save the energy, and guess where that money comes out of? You can put the money from a bond into paying for those control points, but I'm going to lose the money out of the general fund in energy savings. Another one that I'm aware of that has happened is somebody will put in e-glass, and e-glass is sometimes so efficient you may not need air conditioning. Somewhere along the line, the contractor comes to the school board or the administration and says, you know, I can save you a little money. You've put a lot of money into e-glass. I don't think you need it. Okay, we'll take it out. And 3 or 4 years, or maybe even the first warm spring, somebody's coming to you and say, we got to have air conditioning in here. So either passing another bond or trying to figure out how to finagle it out of your general fund. So don't assume that all building designers, project managers, blah, 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 know what it is that you want. Don't allow them to speak in jargon and call me on it. I have a tendency to do that in these presentations, and it's really important that if you have a question about something, what's a DDC control? You know, raise your hand and get as much information as you can before you buy into that or buy into cutting it or whatever it is. Consider retaining commissioning agent. Commissioning used to be where they would determine a commissioning agent's job for a few years lately has been to make sure that you got what was designed. so that after the building's completely designed and operational, it's operating as it's designed. A commissioning agent, a good reason to get a commissioning agent on at the outset is so that they can help you make sure that you're getting what you want, that e-glass doesn't get jettisoned, or that you have all the control points on your DDC control system. Even if you had a control company help spec them out, you may dialogue with them, and they can look at the plans and say, hey, you don't have all the controls you need. I know what you want, and even though you spec'd it with the control system or control company, they didn't give you everything that you're going to need to help this building be efficient. So establish design standards. If you're especially in the public, a low bid can be devastating. So if you say, this is how I want my DDC system. I want all of these points. I want this one talking to that one this way and that one talking to this one this way, and you get really specific with it. At some point, it won't necessarily matter as much if you get low bid, because they'll all be bidding apples to apples. But if you just say, I want a DDC control system, for example, those can be all over the map. And we have examples of those in our school district. Recognize that designers are not the experts when it comes to your needs and wants. You are. Make sure they understand that. And that. Oh, here it is. One thing that, and that's why I hope this doesn't come across as anti-sustainable, but what we've had problems with in our district is architects and designers buying into our vision. And our vision, we want to be green, we want to be sustainable, but sometimes they can design, based on their understanding of green and sustainable, something that we refer to as cutting edge or bleeding edge into our systems that we can't afford. You know, let those things work themselves out in somewhere besides in public funding. So we took the time to say, here's what sustainability means to us. And so if you design with this definition in mind, then we'll all be on the same page. And we actually had to present this to someone who was getting a little aggressive with new and cutting-edge technologies that they thought, based on modeling, should work. We've seen where the modeling hasn't worked as it's designed in a lot of facilities. And not that we don't want to be there, but we want to be real careful. Here's some examples of designs that for some reason people don't pay attention to, and it's fascinating. These pictures that you'll see are all from LEED, at least silver schools. And if you're familiar with most of these, what I want to show you here is this is your supply right here. This gal, she's about 6 foot tall, so you can see that where those are, and heat does what? Rises. So you're going to be, by the time you're, I'd say 68 degrees down here, you're probably 110 up there, and you have to heat all of that before you get heat down here. That's a common way to design buildings. Another common way, and you'll see other pictures of this, is to do what they call short cycling, but you have your supply and your return real close to each other. And so, you know, the supply is right there, the return's right there, the people are over here. It takes forever to get that heated. And that's, for some reason, that just hasn't been figured out yet. This is a design, and you can't see, there's other pictures of this, but I have to hurry through, so I won't necessarily show you them all. This is a feature that I have seen designed into a lot of schools, natural light. Natural light's okay if you leave the blinds open, but this is a feature that is contingent on behavior of the occupants. And just be careful, think about whether or not you want to go there. Because you can train all your people, but teachers move around all the time from one room to the next, from one school to the next, and they may not really think it's their job to pay attention to whether or not they're saving energy in here. But I have a picture of the outside of the school, and this was last April. Every single blind on the whole wing was closed. Anybody who's ever taken statistics can pretty much say that that wasn't a coincidence. They were probably closed that day, and they'd been closed for a number of days before that. So nobody's taking advantage of natural daylight. They're probably not taking advantage of dimming ballasts that are installed in here either. But they got green, or they got LEED silver points for doing it. Another thing that you probably